Good afternoon. Today's talk will be on William Hazlitt's essay on Going a Journey. Hazlitt's essay Going a Journey was written in 1822 and is structurally divided into 5 paragraphs. For most of the essay, the author treats of how a journey allows him to see the world with great serenity, peace, and with no constrictions or hindrances, essentially as purely as Shakespeare would see it. But as the essay moves on, Hazlitt also begins to assert the value of a focused and concentrated perspective, in which one's own habitual patterns of thought are to be valued rather than discarded. The piece ends in a balance of opposites, with both of the polar ways of approaching life being accepted as necessary and desirable. For Hazlitt, one of the pleasantest things in the world is to go on a journey. But importantly, Hazlitt likes to go all by himself. He loves the company of people truly, but he prefers nature's company when he is out of doors. He is not one of those people who criticize the countryside while he is out of town, or one who cannot forget his life in the town and carries his comfort with him wherever he goes. When Hazlitt travels, we find that he forgets about his existence in the town and enjoys the vegetative aspect of rural life. Nor those he requires a companion with whom he can share his solitude. In fact, when he is out in the lap of nature, he loves his solitude and his companionship with nature and nature alone. In fact, he wishes to enjoy solitude for its own sake. He wants to be all alone, all by himself, and does not entertain the company of any friend, as he desires to converse with nature than to do anything else. Even when he had nothing to do in his walks, he would indulge in daydreaming while his friend would talk to him. So instead of being a half-hearted friend, breaching the manners and neglecting others, it is always better to be solitary. He does not want to do both the walking and the talking at the same time, like he says Frenchmen who do two things at the same time instead. He prefers to be like Englishmen who loves doing one thing at a time. So he prefers to just walk and enjoy the pleasure of being in nature's lap. Also, if he is not alone, then his companion might have a different opinion about things. He may not have the same feeling about nature, but he does not want to waste his time in explaining his opinion or beauty of nature to his companion. He rather lets his ideas float and fly with them and analyze them later, like craves for clear blue sky over his head and green grass under his feet. And for this divine pleasure, he is ready to forsake the city life, brimming with convenience. He wants to escape all the worries of his daily city life in his journeying alone. If he is with his friend on a journey, then a difference of opinion may end up in an argument or produce ill humor. Instead, he is happy with his own opinions and does not express them strongly until he has to defend them against any objections. He prefers to be nostalgic in his journeys and recall all his beautiful memories, break all barriers, and flow with them without any restriction while he is in the soothing togetherness of nature. Unlike his friend and poet Samuel Taylor Coleridge, who could get inspired by the ambience of nature and turn a landscape into an object of learning or perhaps a didactic poem, Hazlitt avoids explaining what he feels. He only wants to relish nature's beauty. According to Hazlitt, if at all he has to have a companion, then he would prefer a stranger in the place of an old friend, as a stranger delivers some sort of freshness in the ways and means in which he talks of things. He moves the minimum interference, as there are no past memories or events that they have shared together about which they can convene or rip up old grievances and destroy the pleasure of exquisite scenic grandeur. So essentially what we have with Hazlitt going on a journey alone is that he is more fearful of the consequences of things going wrong if he goes on a journey with anyone close by, an acquaintance. Hazlitt prefers in this context to keep his identity concealed as he meets new people in the inns, as he will never meet them again. So he is absolutely free to either project himself as a highly respectable person or even as a negative person. He prefers to be a new, refreshed person altogether away from all pretense. He mentions about his stay in several inns which are incognito, where nobody could recognize him, and this turns to be a unique feature, as this makes him to be away from all the panels of the world to shed his importunate and tormenting personality and personal identity with the elements of nature, can live in the moment free from all ties or from the burdens of memories that ties bring. Hazlitt is an avid reader and loves to spend his time in reading books of his choice at length till midnight. Once he remembers to have celebrated his birthday alone at a delightful spot he has searched. The luxuriously vegetated green valleys, with dim sun rays shining on them, the tender boughs in the turbulent stream, the serenity and charm of that sight and inspiration was effectively drawn from his friend Coleridge. Hazlitt, while going on solitary journeys, it is apparent in the essay, is more often than not awakened by certain virtues which nature gives him, which helps him to value liberty, genius, love, and virtue. But he feels that all these qualities were sunken deep within due to the hardship of a common day and are now beginning to surface and enlighten him when he is on a journey solitarily interacting with nature. With friends, he would not mind going to see the ruins, aqueducts, pictures, as they may be budding matters of discussions. When alone, he is anticipated to see new places and meet new people. But while traveling out of his country, he prefers carrying a friend who can speak his own mother tongue. As in a foreign land, one always longs to hear voices in his own language. In this context, Hazlitt supports Dr. Johnson's opinion that traveling to foreign lands helps one to pick up an art of communicating. But in this process, he detaches with his own individuality and effectively turns to a different person. Hazlitt eventually declares that although traveling can give a little breather or some form of relief, although temporary, from an overdone monotony of life, but eventually one has to discharge his duties, and they can be only done in one's own motherland. He wishes if he had one entire life that rendered him a gift to travel, and then another life in which he could spend at home and shoulder his responsibilities. But these are essentially wishful thinking. Neither can one have a life entirely devoted to traveling, nor can one have a life where one has to shoulder all responsibilities from birth itself. Ongoing a journey is thus finally some form of dramatization of Hazlitt's famous belief that, and I quote, truth is not one, for the movement of the essay concludes with this realization that a mixture of opposite perspectives is perhaps the key to happiness. So these are the chief points of Hazlitt's essay, and in due course of time When you read the text of the essay, it is desirable that you understand Hazlitt's essay in the context of a romantic notion of a personal essay, where an essayist considers or writes an essay considering a reader as some form of a confidant. And most romantic essayists and essays are actually texts which are essentially windows into the minds of these writers, essay writers. So, so this is all that I had to tell you with regard to William Hazlitt's essay. Thank you.